Christmas, dude? What'd you get Mom and Dad?
A hat.
Nice.
Custom
Cool
hat. A custom hat, actually.
Custom?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Baseball though.
Did you make it?
No, I bought it.
Oh. Sweet.
Or actually, Oma bought it. I gave it to him.
Put his number on the hat, and it's all in baseball style stitching. It looks really cool.
That is cool. Nice, dude.
Are we doing boss or what?
Yeah, I think. Okay,
Oh,
right.
so
we
we
were
just do
talking
a
about jazz
touch up
charts
and
stuff.
then you get into a new style this week.
Mhm.
Okay.
Right. So, pick one of the. Actually, yeah. The point is to pick one that you haven't really played, right?
Well, you said you wanted to cover last week. You said you wanted to make sure you touched on the one that you did, and then you jumped to a whole new one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look at you with fancy new cord.
Oh, wait a minute. That's. I'm all frazzled. This is me. You've got one. Okay.
Yeah.
We're all set.
I got plain old rock headphones for rock.
I like to keep my ears.
Hold on. I can't hear Dad.
I like to keep my ears too.
Yeah, you just got. I've had these.
I believe this was the one that we did.
Hold on.
You want the rest of this?
You can have it.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm gonna put on the same one from last time. So now that you've spent a week kind of getting comfortable with some bosses, I want you to have a little more liberty to kind of change some things up. Okay. So we're gonna kind of think of this as in the middle, right? So not a full drum cover where you're doing like all kinds of metal chops and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you don't have to play exactly as the recording. You can embellish but stay within the style, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Make sense? Okay.
That's what he's been having me do.
Good. Good. It's a good plan. Okay. I think we're all plugged in. Wow, the difference between last week and this week. Oh my gosh. So, lot of, there's, what comes with embellishment, right, is kind of some sloppy stuff. You'll go for something and it kind of won't work out the way that it is. But I thought a lot of your ideas were really good. For one, some of the dynamic contrast that you used was very nice. There was one where you were going pretty big, you were doing some tom work and whatever, and then just boom, 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 you even took out the cross stick, which I don't think is something I showed you, but that is a very good method for bringing it all the way down. Way down. So that contrast from like big to very, very low, it was really nice. I liked that a lot. That was when I tapped you. Because that was probably my favorite choice that you made. But a lot of the little fill choices that you went for were also good, right? Right? That kind of stuff. That's very in bossa style, those kinds of fills, right? As opposed to right? That's a little more like rock. That's a little so. But I didn't feel like you did a lot of those.
I was
felt
tempted.
like I bet you were.
I'm not used to having to hold myself back.
Yeah, I bet you were. But it sounds really good when you can keep it in the style. Right? So then all that would need to happen is just with that amount of jump that we hit in 1 week, the more time that you spend with it, all of those little sloppy kind of things, you were trying to kind of figure out, you had some really cool ideas for the hi-hat, but they just kind of weren't, it wasn't quite lining up. You spend a little bit of time with that, it's going to clean up and it's going to sound great, right? Because the ideas are there, we just need the polish.
I also, yeah.
Yep. So I reminded you once, but then as soon as you came back to the hi-hat, it went right back. So another thing to consider.
I stopped paying attention.
Mm-hmm. But another thing to pay attention to is you have a tendency to like to use the shank, but because this is a low volume kind of a groove, you can also come up here and you can get different sounds, right? I'm not saying never use the shank, but I'm saying that you can get a different sound by using the tip as opposed to here, right? You can hear there's a big difference. Right? I'm not hitting harder. This just has more like girth to it. Mm-hmm. So, oftentimes they'll even kind of play kind of upbeat, hit the shank on 2 and 4. I know one of the common ones is to hit it on 2 and 4 because you're replacing the hi-hat on 2 and 4. You're replacing it with your stick. Right? So that's a common thing that you could start to use, but I think your strongest suit to me, because it's something not style wise. I've been thinking about this a lot with my different students, is what are each of your strengths? What is it that all of you do really well? And I think one of the things that I think you do particularly well is I think that you listen. So I think you're listening. So just in 1 week, playing some bossa stuff, you have now showed up playing things that are very much in the bossa style that I didn't show you, right? So there's only one solution for that. It's that while you were listening to these tracks, you picked up on things that they were doing that I was going to show you. Yeah? So I think that's a good positive. I like to make sure that we're focusing on a lot of reading too, because it's I find that my students tend to favor one of two categories, and I've recently categorized them. I've started calling them engineers and composers. And so engineers like to be very methodical. They write everything down. They highlight things. They don't like to create, right? They like, but they're very
straightforward.
Well,
dialed into the sheet music.
Yes. So I have some kids that need the sheet music. They feel lost when there's no sheet music. Whereas for you, you're on the flip side. If I said, hey, can you just play me 16 bars? You could just do that, right? You go, well, you could maybe go, well, what style? But for the most part, I could just let you go, right? And you would just play. But Ben, for example, if I say, hey, just play me 16 bars, he goes, well, of what? I go, we'll play a bossa. Well, yeah, but like what? Like what? No. Like, you know what I mean? Like they need that structure. So they tend to be more mechanical or more creative usually. So
I'm on the
you
creative
and
side.
you and Wyatt tend to fall firmly into this category because if I play something for you, you hear it and you can copy it.
Almost.
Usually at least pretty close. Whereas Ben does better if I write it out and Ben's looking at the sheet music, then he can play it. Does that make sense? It's
Yeah.
what you tend to gravitate towards. So, and I think that seeing that your strength is in your ability to listen,
This is a good exercise.
yeah, I think it's an exercise that plays to your strengths, which is good, right? The exercise that doesn't is coming next, right? When I put a piece of sheet music in front of you that you've never seen before. That's playing
I can read it.
You can. And that's my goal is to allow you to do everything on both sides of the fence, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to live over here, but you have to be able to do this stuff. You can live here
I do.
where this is what you're comfortable doing, this is what you like to do. If left to your own devices, this is how you're going to do things. But sometimes you're put in a situation where you have to do it this way. And if you have to do it this way, I want to make sure that you can. Yeah? So that's my whole goal with all of this stuff. The reason I teach you styles, the reason I, put you up on stage blind sometimes, the reason I have you last minute cover for people, the reason I put sheet music in front of you that you've never seen before, the reason I do all these things for you that are uncomfortable is because once you become comfortable with them, then when you go to actually perform, you're ready for anything, right? I had to prep Ryan for a recording gig with Rachel, but I had no details. So I didn't know whether Rachel was only going to use a click, whether she was going to use a track, whether he was going to, I didn't really know anything about her process. So I tried to prepare Ryan for the most brutal recording gig that I could think of, because then if it wasn't that and it was easier, then he'd be fine.
If it wasn't brutal.
Yeah. I have him curling 30 pounds so that if he only has to curl 10, then it's no big deal. It's, I was prepping him for something way more brutal than what it turned out to be. And so then that's what happened was I found out later, it was like, oh, he had a blast. It was super easy. It was way easier than the stuff you had him doing. So perfect. So
That's how it's supposed to work.
yeah. Okay. So that was great. I liked that a lot. So the idea was then to pick a different style, right?
Yeah.
So
we've done soca and now bossa.
okay.
Yeah, bossa. Also, I didn't have the blue bossa chart yet, so I was looking for that. Like, that counts as bossa, right?
Mm-hmm. So tell you what, you're gonna like me today.
It better be rock.
I think you've heard this song
Let's
before, but I don't think you've listened to it like a bunch. I guess you guys can stop me. Are you really familiar with Satellite by Rise Against?
Oh, yeah.
That was the one you
I
had
tried to
him
learn
try to
that
play.
well.
Okay,
I
well
tried
then I
to
can't
learn
use
that.
that one. I gotta use something different.
Like, if it's anything emo, it's fine.
Yeah, he doesn't have these on yet, dude.
Why don't you go back?
Okay, so I'm still gonna pick punk rock because that was what I had kind of decided on. So we did 2 Latin styles, so I'll give you a little bit of a break this week and we'll do punk rock. Sound good?
Uh-huh.
All right, so
I have.
I'm gonna pick, it's gonna be a little bit different from Satellite. There's gonna be a different spin on it. Listen, adapt, and play the song as best as you can. Remember, mistakes are gonna happen. You don't know when the stops are. You don't know when anything else is. This is a listening challenge. So as you listen, adapt. Okie doke? All right. And don't worry about mistakes. Plow through them. No big deal. They're gonna happen. All right, here we go. All right.
That felt good.
Like me after that one, huh?
Yeah.
So I'll do stuff like that. We'll do 1 or 2 weeks of a style that you're not as familiar with, and then we'll do one that's going to be kind of more fun, right? As long as you keep working on the ones that aren't. If you're 2 Latin ones or your jazz or whatever I throw at you, if those don't end up good, then we're gonna skip your fun one, yeah. So keep you honest.
Keep me honest.
Okay, so let's talk about it, right? So it's not just an attempt to blow off some steam. We want to learn something from this, right? So tell me about how it went. Were you content with that?
No.
No. What would you have changed? Actually, first, what went well? So tell me what was good first.
Some of it.
Some of it? Like what? What were some things that were nice?
I feel like my timing was off a little, but it was on and off getting some of them. I felt like some of the patterns.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you something that might be taken for granted, is that was a triplet feel the whole time, which is not standard for punk songs, right? That happens occasionally. There's songs that do it, but most of them are going to be more, right? They're going to be that kind of thing. Whereas this was kind of more of a triplet vibe. That's why I picked this one. It's still got a little bit of a twist to it, right? So, double bass, okay?
Nah.
Yeah, it's okay for this one. Should we, like maybe for a fill or two, but that's not.
I've never heard this. I'm like, this feels metal.
Yeah. So I think there was only one section that seemed really hard to grab for you, and that was the bridge section. That was when you were that section.
Yeah, I feel like that was
near the
right,
over halfway point. So I actually turned up the volume to try to get you to hear it better, because we were sort of, for a little while, we were kind of playing in 2 different times. So I thought maybe you weren't hearing it super well or whatever. So that was probably a section that would need a little bit of work. But you did pick up on the triplet vibe, and your fills were all triplets, your grooves were triplets.
That's chicken
right?
egg.
Yeah. So yeah, similar. So the idea is you're swinging, but from your bass drum for the most part. A little bit from snare, rather than shuffling from the hi hat, which is. It's a different kind of shuffle.
It's
right?
odd the way they did it.
Yeah. So there's all different kinds of ways that's like a heavier kind of a shuffle, because it's all coming from the bass drum.
It is a heavy shuffle. It's a good heavy shuffle.
Yeah. So I guess the one other thing I'd like to talk about is, let's talk about strategies, right? So I saw this a lot, and this is totally okay, but I did see this a lot. A section would change. Well, yeah, there's that too. But a section would change, and you would dial it way back so that you could listen and hear what was going on, and then you would bring it forward, because then you would kind of have context, right? So that's good. What do you think you could do to supplement a strategy like that? So what I mean by that is, so you need to listen, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't know exactly what's coming next. Is it a stop? Do I go bigger? Am I up on the crash? Am I on the ride? Am I on the hi-hat? Where am I going,
you
right?
can just listen. Is it kind of...
So you
Is
listen.
it building up, or is it just dying down?
Yep.
Pop
So
back up?
what is a good strategy for allowing you to do that without stopping entirely?
Play quieter.
Play quieter is something. You don't want to tilt your hand too much, because if you play too quiet but the song's actually getting louder, then whoops, that's going to sound kind of weird, because you're going to dip quieter and then suddenly spike back up louder because you're going into a bigger section, right? So what might be a strategy that, I think that's good. What would be better? Think about it for a bit.
Listen to the song beforehand.
Nope, that's not an option.
It is a strategy.
That would be a good one. If that option is available to you, I highly recommend it. But for the times that it is not available to you, what do? It's actually very simple. But I didn't think of it either. Al had to tell me.
Like, what song is this? Does it, like, listen to it for a little bit and see, like if it cues, if it repeats, if it cues like
Yep.
it goes up the crash, listen for that. Or if it goes if it's a big fill and it drops, listen and see if you hear that again, just do that.
Yep, so listen for patterns and listen for cues. Good. Even simpler than that, simplify your groove. So if I told you to play the simplest groove that song had, what does that look like to you? Yeah. Yep. So pretty much. So either that, da, 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 kind of thing, right? So anything in that wheelhouse is going to be very simple. You can go even simpler. Yeah, you can go down to straight quarter notes. And that was something that Al told me. He goes, when you don't know, if someone just counts off a song that you've never heard before, and they go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you have no idea what's coming. Let's say you don't even know what style it is. Is it a shuffle? Is it a swing? Is it a bossa? Is it rock? Is it metal? I have no idea. You kind of can't go wrong with quarter notes. If you're playing quarter notes, ding, 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 and you're hearing doom, da, do, da, doom, ba, ba, do, ba, ba, then you drop in, right? You can start off with something way, way, way simple. Just quarter notes. So that's a strategy that I've used when, again, I get called for a gig and I have no idea what's going on or whatever. Most of the time, I try to ask the director for at least tell me what style it is before we start the song. But you still don't always get that. You still don't always get that. So usually, in fact, let's try right now.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna kind of just grab some songs. And I want you to kind of tell me if you can figure out the vibe within the first couple measures. I'm going to give you about 4 measures. Okay? Let me
like
just...
what vibe? Like is it?
Well, that's the point. Is I'm not going to tell you, right? So listen to the first couple bars and tell me what you think. Okay? Here we go. I don't expect you to play all these because some of these are going to be pretty hard.
Wait, do I have to play them?
No. I want you to pick up on the vibe, okay? Four, 2, 3, 4.
Hip hop rock, kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of a. So play something that you think might work. This doesn't have the E, so this should probably be fine.
Metal!
So quite get to that part, right? Because you got to start pretty quick. You hear just this beginning part. So before you know it's metal, what are you playing? So, from that perspective, right? You just played quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you hear the scream, you know it's about to be metal. Boom, drop into it. Yeah?
Yeah.
So you can kind of guess. You can make educated guesses. So now this time, I want you to actually try. Okay?
Screams aren't always metal.
You're right. But at least you have a guess. Whereas I'm not giving you any guess at all. I'm not even telling you the name of the song.
It's like 75% guess correct.
So
They
what I want you to do is I want you to listen to either the first 2 measures or the first 4 measures, however long you think it takes you to grab it. Don't come in on measure 3. That's a little awkward. But come in on the 5th measure, either way, I guess. But I want you to play something super simple while you figure out what the style is. Okay? Something real simple. Normally this would have a count off, but I can't quite count these off. So, let's try. listen, play something very simple, and then jump in with something that works. Got it? Okay, now you're in. So what I mean is listen for the first 4 measures, and then on measure 5, commit. Do you know what I mean when I say commit?
Like go in.
Yeah, so at the beginning, you're kind of feeling it out. You're playing something light, something like this. Something that's not committal. You're not committed to anything yet. You're not committed to a style. You're not any kind of thing like that. You're just kind of tapping time, really. And then after you've heard it for a little bit, you're like, cool, I can lock into this. Yeah? Okay, let's grab another one. So, non-committal, and then commit. Perfect. 1, 2, ready, commit. See? Isn't that kind of cool how that works? That almost feels like you knew what you were doing ahead of time, even though you had no idea. Right?
Yeah, that
You do
song
something-
almost felt like I knew it.
Well,
Is that
Wow.
metal or
A lot of ska sounds the same.
yeah.
Especially if you're a punk kid.
I'm trying to sort through because there's a lot of metal in here, so I'm trying to look for things that also aren't metal so that you have variety. Okay, same thing. Don't commit, listen, and then about 5 bars on the 5th bar, commit to something. Okay? How about... I can't pronounce this, so let's try this one. One, two, ready, go. So, you know what was kind of fun in there?
What?
Even what you decided to lock with still could also not be very committal. If they shifted, you could have shifted very quickly because you still were kind of that's still fairly non-committal. So you still weren't even totally locked in, but it still looked like something that would work, right?
Yeah.
So that even kind of works out kind of nice.
I like the beginning of this. I don't know. I can't pronounce this one.
Yeah. How about 2 more?
Sure.
Let's do this. Actually, that has the E. I shouldn't put that one on.
Yeah, never mind.
What about this? Ready to commit?
Well,
See?
started screaming.
Make this a good one.
If
If it's emo, I probably know it.
Oh, this seems funny. You'll kind of know this one. All right, here, ready? Last one. But this is a different band, so don't lock into 21 Pilots. Two, ready, commit. So-
I have to actually play that.
Yeah, kind of fun, right? I was just scrolling through songs and I saw Heathens. I'm like, no. And then I saw, oh, August Burns Red. Like, yeah, let's go. All right.
I was waiting for the
Yeah.
off. The linear one.
All right.
Right.
So, do you kind of understand what I'm getting at with this process?
Yeah.
Is that no matter what I put in front of you, you can play something that'll at least keep time for the band. Just keep time at first. If they don't give you the song ahead of time, tell you what style it's in, or give you a tempo, they cannot be mad at you if you play something non-committal at the beginning of the song until you get a feel for how the song's supposed to go and then jump in. They cannot. And if they do, then let me know.
I will.
Because it's not fair. It's not fair to do that. There's no way, without any context at all, that you can come in real clean like that. If they go, okay, this one's going to be a bossa. Ready? You've never heard the name of the song. You don't know anything about it. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 5, 5. Right? Okay. Fine. That's fair. That one's fair because they gave you a tempo and they gave you a style. Right? The fewer of those things that they let you do, and the more guessing you have to do, the more I want you to lock in on just quarter notes for the first couple bars until you can tell what's happening and then play. I played a bunch of stuff on here. I played some Brazilian music that I can't pronounce. I played techno for you at one point. We played metal. We played
You played
punk.
Heathens
We
that
played
was
ska.
metal.
Yeah, I jumped around to a bunch of different stuff.
I am listening to that when we get home.
Sure,
You
have
got
fun
that
with
on
it.
camera. Dad
Have
got
fun
that
with
on
it.
There's-
But
There's some ska
we
stuff.
jumped around to a bunch of different stuff, and I didn't let you know what any of it was at first.
Yeah.
So that's a good strategy to use. It's rare that it will come up, but it might. You know?
What if Rachel's like, remember when I had to do those songs, Ryan broke his wrist or whatever, and I had to come in, I didn't know any of those.
Yeah.
And I had to guess.
That's how it goes. That happens in music all the time. I've told you stories, right?
Yeah.
One time at church, drummer got into a car accident or his car blew out or something like that. He couldn't make it to the gig. The band was all set up and ready to go, and they said, hey, come up here and help us. I didn't know any of their songs, and they said, okay, here we go, ready? Boom, we went. The jazz gig, same thing. I got called. I had the length of my car ride to learn 1 or 2 songs, kind of, to sort of listen through. I got to listen to about 3 songs by the time I got there.
Boy.
So you just don't have time sometimes. So the more versed you are in styles and the more that you have variety. So the reason, why do you think that I push variety on you so much?
Because you want me to learn everything, get good at everything.
Yeah. So even though I know that we could come in here and we could play punk rock, metal, hard rock, you know, and
Ska,
sure,
emo.
even ska, right? And we could just blast that the whole time while you're in here.
I'd be fine.
That would be fun, but
I
you're
wouldn't be
eventually
learning
going to
much.
get into a situation where someone's going to ask, can you do this? And you're going to have to say no. And I don't want you in those situations, right? The other thing is that you would not have found out how much fun this was if I hadn't pushed you for the last like 5 years.
Ever since I started, it's been
Yeah.
do that.
And so
And-
by showing you stuff that's new, you can find new favorites, right? I like to try new foods all the time. If I go to a restaurant I've never been to before, I won't just order sometimes, you know, I'm not feeling risky and I'll just, you know,
Hamburger.
get something simple. Yeah. If you order a hamburger at every single restaurant that you ever go to, you might miss out on what their specialties are.
Like cheese, sushi.
You know? Yeah. So I was on a tour that went through Seattle, and I thought, well, I'm at Seattle, so I should definitely have some kind of seafood because that's what they do up here, right? So I just tried seafood stuff that I had never tried before, right? We'll
I know
take
seafood's
a
good.
trip down to Little Tokyo in LA, and it's like, okay, I'm going to get some kind of sushi here because that's what they're, you know, good at doing down here. And then you might not like everything that you try, but if you try one new thing that you really like, you know, every song that you love was a brand new song at one point, right? So it's important to try all these different styles because you might find that once you actually kind of commit to them a little bit, they turn out to be pretty fun.
Only some songs I like have even been made when I was born. Most of the songs, 99% of the songs I like were.
It's what happens to most kids because they listen to their parents' music until they develop their own.
Oh! I was like, what? I didn't register what you were saying. So most of the songs that you enjoy were written before you were born.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. Okay.
And then the
I
rest
was like, I
of
don't know what you
that
mean.
1% that I like, it's not Taylor Swift,
Sure.
but the
I-
1% that I like, they're written
I was similar.
like as I was born. Same year. That's,
Yeah, a lot of what I listened to when I was first growing up was my dad's music. It was classic rock and church music.
Rush.
Not-
That's
not-
classic.
not-
That's old.
Well, sure, but he wasn't a giant Rush fan, so we didn't really have it around a lot. So I kind of got into Rush a little bit more when I had some friends that were into it, and I found out how monstrous the drummer was.
Led
Like,
Zeppelin.
oh, now this is fun.
Rush. The drummer's on beat every time.
Okay, so I kind of got a little bit carried away with all of that, and I think it was still, I think that was a good point to be
Yes.
made. So I think we still did stuff. Next week, for sure, though, we need to dive into the new chart.
Yeah.
Okay?
So
this
you want me
week-
to work on rock?
Because
Austin's okay.
this week is going to be fun, because you can just start grabbing punk rock songs, okay? That's what I assigned.
We have this on.
However, I want you to continue to work on bossa songs, too.
I will.
Andrew
Both.
Soka.
I'll do both.
So, because that was a huge difference in your bossa, I'm trying to think if you spent another week,
I'd probably be like.
stuff is going to start to clean up and it's going to sound really nice. So, because I gave you punk rock this week, which is going to be really
I'm
fun,
gonna keep my
I
own
want you
bossa.
to also.
That's fun too.
Good!
Now
Good!
it's
That's
not
what I
an extra
want.
thing.
It's, the more familiar you are with these different styles, the more fun they're going to be. I didn't like bossa that much at first either, and then I had to really grind it because I had a test in one of my college classes. They call them juries. So I had to play Girl from Ipanema for a grade,
Yeah,
basically.
You
And
try
so
to-
I really worked hard on it, and then once I kind of got the feel for it, it's like, oh, this is... I being a metalhead, I would have never thought that playing lounge music was going to be fun, but it was.
Metalhead. That's.
He's more metal than I listen to.
Yeah.
I'm more
Yeah, you
I'm more emo
listen-
and post hardcore.
You
Yeah.
listen to like Alexis and Fire. That's
Yeah.
the
It's,
hardest you get.
you know, it's
Minus the bear would
I'm
be as
listening
close as I
to
get.
Wage War and Trivium and Soul Work and Currents and
Project 86 would be the heaviest that I get into.
yeah.
I
I get into
A little
I'm,
heavier than
I'm pretty
that.
big into metalcore, so
like
That's my
metal,
favorite.
but Dad categorizes metal into
I have
Black
classic
metal.
metal. I have classic metal.
Yeah.
I got Metallica. I've got.
yeah
Oh, sure.
that is, but you don't like black metal. Just
I'd be careful with black metal.
it depends.
I think metal gets a bad rap, but I think most of the bad rap that metal gets
Comes from that.
kind of comes from black metal. So
It's
just
the avant-garde jazz. So
Yeah.
it's their version of it.
yeah, it's well.
It's jazz,
You know.
but it's heavier.
When I was doing my paper in college, most really gnarly stuff happened through black metal bands. So, you know, burning churches and people dying on stage and stuff like that. Like, you know, so you got to be careful with that stuff. But as far as the rest of it, you know, a lot of it is just, it's the same message that punk rock gives, which is kind of anti-establishment, you know.
Punk
kinda
rock
stuff.
doesn't have that bad of a rep. If they
If you
get-
go to the actual beginning of punk rock, which I don't let you listen to Agent Orange or Ramones or any of that stuff.
I actually have heard of the Ramones. They sound
I'm sure
good.
you've heard of them. They're
But you-
massively famous. but-
Yeah,
Yeah, they sound good. I won't listen.
we're not going to that era.
Like-
We're in like pop punk, mall punk. There we go.
Yeah.
We're in the mall punk
Mall
era.
punk is like
Blink
new
182,
Yeah.
Paramore, Pennywise, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Paramore. Eve 6.
Eve 6.
That's,
Alright,
That's like
well,
one of my.
I'll go ahead and cut you guys here. You got plenty of time to get out. We got our full 45 minutes.
Okay.
So this week, just make sure that you don't neglect
I
your
will not
bossa.
neglect my bossa.
Yeah.
I will never neglect punk rock.
Yeah.
Punk
So
rock princess.
basically, what I'm gonna find out with this is if I assign punk rock
Boy,
and
boy.
all you do this week is punk and you don't work on any of the other stuff that's good for you, then I'm going to realize that it doesn't really work that well and you end up just goofing off, right? But if you get a lot done, on the other hand, a lot of the stuff you're supposed to do, then it's like, oh, I can trust you to assign you some really fun stuff and
Sometimes.
also get a lot of work done. Make sense? So you can think of it like a trial period.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he's also working on his song still, so.
Good.
Yeah, they turned the volume up a little bit. A little bit.